So that was Paul Gebhardt or Wardell Pomeroy. They both were saying those sorts of things, that you could have sex with incestuous relationships. This was Penthouse magazine was reporting these quotes by Kinsey's co-authors. Kinsey himself said that incest was harmless and that the children were trying to negotiate to have incest. We have judges, and we have law review articles quoting Kinsey and claiming that children age 4 years old are seductive and trying to have sex with adults. We have the group for the advancement of psychiatry advocating age 7 for age of consent in our laws. I mean, I'm surprised that we aren't worse off than we are right now.
Wow. Well, it's pretty bad. I would hate to think it could be worse because it's pretty bad.
It can be. It can be, and it will be, unless and until we can try and get past the censors, because all my work has been censored constantly by the powers that be, by the universities who do not want to tell the truth about it. Fortunately, my books are now being used as textbooks by Liberty University to train their lawyers. But I have found enormous censorship of my work all these years since I worked for the Department of Justice and did the research on images of children, crime, and violence in Playboy, Penthouse, and Hustler. This material is being censored everywhere. Academicians don't want to admit that they've been fools or that they're part of the problem, and so they fight it tooth and nail. The Congress has been stymied. FBI, DOJ, when I worked there, we had a major task force we were supposed to be launching, and we got stopped even under Reagan at the top somewhere along the line. They crushed our task force. So when you can stop the task force that has already been identified and FBI is involved, and part of the task force, and Department of Justice, Juvenile Justice, and when you can, and law enforcement, when somebody placed high enough above can kill that task force. In 1983, when we were going to look at sexology as part of our mission statement, and we were supposed to look at pornography and sexology as causing kidnapping of children, rape of children, that sort of thing, in 1983, right? When you can kill that research, you're dealing with powerful foes up there.
With lots of money, I suspect.
Billions. They went after me, when... They were spending, what was it? A grain company reported roughly $1 million a year for a couple of years to smear me. So I was just a little peanut in this whole thing.
Wow. You already mentioned the so-called homosexual revolution. Homosexuality was in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual as a form of pathology not that long ago.
Well done. Yeah.
Did Kinsey's research have an impact on getting
It was the only research. It was the only research cited to kill homosexuality as a mental disorder. Way back, Dr. Socarides was there, and he wrote about it at the discussions and so forth. So Kinsey's was the only research cited. Between that and the violence that the homosexual movement at the time inflicted on the doctors, who are used to being kings. They're not used to people spitting at them, sort of thing, and storming around like little stormtroopers. They crumbled pretty fast. But yes, the only research that existed at that time that was used to change that decision was the research by Dr. Alfred Kinsey. So he's the foundation of the homosexual movement, and they say so. I mean, there's not any issue there. They absolutely claim him as the father of their revolution.
Do you think it was correct that homosexuality was listed as a form of sexual deviance?
Oh, no, yeah, of course it is. Of course homosexuality. It's heterophobia, by the way. It's fear of the opposite sex. In fact, that's what we're talking about. When you look at the data and you interview the people I've interviewed over these many, many, many years, you're looking at a behavior that usually stems out of either early sexual abuse of these folks, somebody, and or a high degree of neglect by the father and the overtaking of that process by mom, that kind of thing. Yeah, these are not happy, healthy environments that folks are growing up in. And when you add pornography as is existing today, I tell you a story. I was lecturing to one recovering homosexual group, and the lights are going on for these guys everywhere because, pornography is a huge component of homosexuality that is, quote, heterosexual pornography, if you call it that, but it isn't. You introduce the young boy to sex with a man by showing him Playboy in the early years. Now, then it was Penthouse and that sort of thing. So you try to introduce him slowly, and then you manipulate him, and you take him over, and then you tell the boy he's gay, I mean, we've got thousands of young men dying of AIDS who have been infected by adult males, right? Do you see thousands of adult males being arrested for killing these young boys because they've had AIDS? No. But that is, of course, exactly what's been happening, because what they do then is they turn around and tell the boy, well, you were gay, and therefore you were up for it, kind of thing. And it used to be you'd say that about girls. She says no, 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 but she really means yes, yes, yes. So now they're applying that to young boys, and we have young boys contracting AIDS from adult men, and then the boys will act out on girls because they want to prove to themselves their masculinity. We have infections then in these girls and in women. So it's a bad situation. Nobody who is quote-unquote gay is happy. I mean, this is not a happy place to be. It's a death sentence for the most part. 1 in 5 boys who have sex, according to the Washington Post Whitman Walker Clinic advertisement about AIDS, 1 in 5 of these guys is going to die, die as a result. Now, very few homosexual guys have only 5 partners. So you're talking about Russian roulette. There's nothing healthy about that. There's nothing normal about that. People are not designed to be so unhappy and to be so distressed and to be so penalized in terms of health and their life existence.
Again, our guest for today's broadcast, Dr. Judith Reisman. And actually, I checked. We were both correct.
Good for us.
You can use .org or .com. Either one will work out. So the web address, Dr. Judith Reisman, just her name, .org or .com will get you.
And that's DR, right? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So good for us. We are on it.
Wow. So we already touched on a few of them. Abortion, Roe versus Wade. Does Kinsey's research pop up there as well?
Oh, absolutely. And one of the major abortion books on this by highly recognizable leftists, credits Kinsey with being the foundation of the abortion revolution. We could go into all sorts of reasons as to why, but certainly in Roe v. Wade, Mary Calderon, who is the head of Planned Parenthood, is citing Kinsey's alleged research to prove that abortion is harmless, that it aids in relationships, and that becomes part of the dogma that drives the abortion revolution. So there's a lot of blood spilled that can be put right smack dab at the feet of Indiana University, which has been covering it up all these years, and their key king of this whole cult, and it's a primitive sex cult. There's nothing new about all this, by the way. It goes right back to pansexuality. It's a primitive sex cult that promotes every form of deviance, orgies, the head of the whole foundation, the Harvard, the Holyfield Institute of Advanced Study of Human Sexuality in San Francisco, has a book called Meditations, the Gift of Sexuality, where their faculty, their staff, their students are all engaged in nude orgies in this book. It's a picture book, sort of a coffee table thing, invite people over. And that is the foundation of the whole field. The people who've been trained there, going to the courtrooms, testify in our so-called conservative law firms, do not challenge these people appropriately if they challenge them at all. And so, yes, we lose major cases, and we lose major cases because the legal folks are either ignorant or simply don't want to address this issue in the courtroom. So, no excuse.
Wow.
I think I'm being fairly blunt about all this, would you say?
I appreciate it. I appreciate it. And I mean, you back up strongly everything that you say in your writing and your articles. You have a lot of evidence to support what you're saying.
Oh, let me tell you, if I wasn't able to support every single word that I have uttered, that I have written, I would have been sued off the face of the earth by these guys. The Kinsey Institute threatened to sue me a long time ago. I said, go for it, and they backed down so fast. So no. And Playboy threatened to sue me. We won them, of course, in the Netherlands. I mentioned that. So, no, there's nothing that these people want less than to have to go into a courtroom, because once you go into a courtroom, you have the right of discovery, and that is where you find all the stuff. Look, I'm just talking about what's right on the surface, much less to get into these places and really find out what they've been hiding from the American public.
Wow. And the research that Mr. Alfred Kinsey began, it's now at Indiana University. What the current name for the folks?
Oh, yeah, Indiana University. It's the Kinsey Institute. It's named after this psychopath, right? The Kinsey Institute, and they're funded by you and me, ladies and gentlemen. They get state tax funding. They get federal tax funding. They get private enterprise tax funding. The Rockefeller Foundation, Ford Foundation, different quote-unquote foundations are funding them to try and keep people like me quiet, because if people like you find out what's been going on all along, you're talking about a new revolution. You're talking about taking back America, ladies and gentlemen. So if you knew what was done to you and your family by these people, step back.
Wow. Wow. And these folks are still unwilling to divulge the research so people can really see what information they had, and pedophiles and what have you they worked with. Is that accurate?
Oh, yes. They threatened to destroy the records. If they are ever challenged, they give all sorts of fancy reasons, privacy and all that sort of stuff. But we happen to know that when you go around raping children, you don't have the right to privacy, do you?
I hope not.
Yeah, well, not yet. So no, I mean, all of that material ought to be in the hands of the public. It's public domain. These were publicly funded people. They owe and they are obligated legally to turn over all their records. We just need a couple of judges to slap an injunction on those guys and get the police to guard the doors before they destroy everything.
I guess when I was just a little more ignorant, less informed than I am now, if someone had come to me and said, we're gonna lower the age of consent for sexual intercourse, I would have probably said, that's no big deal. That might even be a good thing. I don't really see a problem with that. What is your stance on the age being lowered as a result of Kinsey's work?
Well, it's tragic. I mean, of course it's tragic. You're opening children to every form of sexual violence and sexual exploitation. We have to remember one of the things that's critical and to understand, and that's the reason you can't have sex education in the classroom, and that is that the human brain, it does not begin to achieve frontal cortical maturity until roughly age 21. You're talking about bringing sex into people's lives when they're absolutely unable in any way, shape, or form to handle this kind of stimuli. Look, most adults can't handle it. That's why you want to have sex in marriage, where there's some chance that you'll be able to work through problems that come about and that sort of thing. No, the old common law said marital coitus. That's what it is. The marital act is what it was called. We weren't talking sexual intercourse. We were talking the marital act, thank you very much. And by golly, that is exactly the kind of concept that allowed this country to become the most affluent, the most productive, the most outstanding nation